You're listening to The Burning Truth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dude and dudettes. I'm your host, Matt Burns, and of course, with me, as always, I have got John Below.
Good evening.
Good evening. I can honestly state that we have got plenty of topics tonight on The Burning Truth, and with that, well, one of the topics being the fact that we've got to discuss, Elimination Chamber predictions, possibly talk about some of it, and then we've got other topics, of course, as well. And I will state this episode, will have a few soapbox rants.
Yes, definitely. I think if we could do it in the style of a popular TV show, tonight, Matt Burns gets on his soapbox, I try not to swear, and we try not to talk over each other when we get really animated about something that is really grinding our gears this week.
Nicely done. But I will state the main topic for this week will be in regards to the Attitude Era, of course. Was it as good as we remember? But that is for later. That
fabled era when everybody who was anybody watched wrestling and came in and initially went, yeah, it's not as good as when Hulk Hogan was in, and then suddenly got hooked. And the question is, I don't know, 15 years since it pretty much petered out? Was it really that good? But as you say, that's later. First,
correct,
we have to talk about our powers of clairvoyance.
Yes.
And what we predicted for Elimination Chamber.
Yes. Now, as respectively, unfortunately, I can honestly say it, John, you thought you'd do terrible.
I generally do at predictions, so I always go in thinking, if I get quite a few right, it's a pleasant surprise. I never expect to do well.
Surprisingly, we actually got quite a good number. Well, I'd say it's not too bad. But in case...
Oh, yeah.
As much as, yes, I know a lot of people can state to us, we don't do all the results. We're not going to be stating all the results of the events. We'll just state the ones that we got wrong. Which is...
Yeah.
Of course, the irony of it is, we both got the Braun Strowman match wrong.
We did, because neither of us thought they'd actually be stupid enough to make Braun lose. But, well...
Yep.
Because we didn't think that little Baron Corbin had any friends, and boy, were we wrong.
We were wrong. But then, on top of that, we then also got wrong the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
We did. We thought, due to circumstances of events that happened outside of the little, what they call the WWE Universe, that the result would be the opposite of what it was. Again, boy, were we wrong.
Now, the thing is, we all instantly assumed that The Miz and Shane were going to be successful because of the police, report of, how WWE are very protective of their current superstars. Anybody who is in trouble gets punished. However, that may have actually changed because rumour has it that the Usos' contract is supposedly running out. Is this sounding familiar?
I wonder where we've heard that before. #FTR.
The Revival? It's almost like the same treatment, which in some cases, rumour has it that people are supposedly, the Usos are going to be they're afraid that the Usos are going to be leaving. As we bring up that discussion, I just got to do a bit of a small segue, but we will return back. Have you seen who else is on Twitter, or it was either Twitter or Instagram, who actually revealed on social media he has handed in a request to leave?
Yes, and I would like to go all over the internet and start a hashtag.
Would that be 10 10
It's
10
quite a
10?
It's quite a long-winded one. Oh no, that's not who I'm talking about. This is someone that is well-known news because I think he stated it 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Go on.
But I would like to start a quite long-winded hashtag, which is have Brock Lesnar lose at WrestleMania, give Dean Ambrose the title, and never, ever, 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 ever have him lose it because they can't afford to lose him from the company.
Now, yes, of course, a lot of people
Or
have been...
basically, don't let Dean Ambrose leave if you want a short one.
True. But also at the same time, the Perfect 10 is leaving.
Or he has announced he would like to leave. Yeah, I think that's sad, but this kind of seeds, is that the word, into something that we're going to talk about later, which is people from NXT.
Yes. But,
and their role on the main roster. But we'll talk more about that later, but that kind of fits nicely into that.
But in actual fact, we need to go back to the predictions because...
We do.
Because we got the last prediction, which is the handicap match that was wrong. However, it wasn't myself that got it wrong, much to my damn surprise.
That means it must have been me then, by sheer power of default.
Correct, and I'll be honest with you on this one. I honestly did not think I would have won that.
No, well, that's fair enough, because I honestly didn't think that they would go the cowardly route of being like, well, you know what, Finn can have the title, but he's not pinning the champion. I thought they'd want to, I understand wanted to make keep Lashley looking strong, but, you know, it's just, there are other ways of doing that.
Yeah, and it also led to a lot of confusion on Raw, which is going to be into the next subject shortly after, because there were a lot of things that happened as well. Because I'll be honest with you, I actually picked Finn Balor because I just thought the way we were doing the predictions, it was going too much very samey, and I just joked, well, we've got to have a difference in opinion.
Indeed, and, well, it turns out that you were right, in spite of everything.
How? No idea how. But anyway.
Sheer blind luck. But anyway,
now,
that concludes the predictions. I lost. No surprise there.
By one, but let's just say this. That little segment in regards to what happened with Bobby Lashley. Now, after the match, Bobby Lashley pretty much basketball slammed his manager.
Yeah, pretty much got angry with Lio Rush for spouting his mouth off and being the weak link in the team, and
basketball
literally they needed to get a spatula to scrape him off the ring afterwards, which frankly is nothing more than that little gobshite has coming, in my opinion.
The issue I have with this, and this is going to actually lead... Now, normally we don't discuss stuff in regards to predictions or anything that's already happened on Raw because you can look up the results, but we've got to do it... We've got to do it because of the topic that we're going to be discussing as well. But what I thought was very unusual was that you had Lio Rush, who's just been basketball slammed by Lashley, come out to interrupt Finn Balor, to then have Lashley come out again to attack Finn, and Rush and Lashley on the same page again, even though Lashley basketball slammed him.
Yeah, that doesn't make a great deal of sense.
It didn't make sense, but supposedly the reason why that is because of something that actually happened on Raw that was supposedly last minute.
Okay, and what would that be, just for those who haven't heard or might not have seen?
Supposedly, Triple H was not made aware of this, and that changes throughout Raw were happening throughout the show.
The old Monday Nitro syndrome. How long have we got to go till we're on air? 10 minutes. How long have you had that running order? 10 minutes. Oh, that's completely
Oh,
wrong.
no.
Changed.
The changes were actually happening during the show was actually on.
Yeah. That's Monday Nitro syndrome.
Pretty much. And
Hang
the
on.
issue...
Who's in the ring? Booker T. What's he doing? Winning the title. I've changed my mind. Has his opponent got out yet? No. Go to Gorilla. Tell him he's winning. What? That's madness. Just do it. Yeah. Monday night.
It was
syndrome.
lots of switch. Yeah, but the thing that was supposedly a last minute change was that Vince McMahon assumed that Raw, that the main roster was getting very, very stale, and so immediately decided to, right, let's get the top guys of NXT up.
Just what everyone who is blowing the house down week after week in NXT, performing their socks off, generally putting on the best product WWE has put on for 20 years, some would argue longer, every week on NXT need to be called up to the already bloated mess of a main roster and to do things which are, as we will find out, largely
Last
not
minute.
even slightly in character with their NXT characters, completely last minute, and basically totally counterproductive.
Now, as we already mentioned about Lashley, and I'll just mention the 4 names that have come up, which are Ricochet, Aleister Black, and DIY, also known as Johnny Gargano.
Also known as Johnny Wrestling and the Sicilian psychopath Tommaso Ciampa.
Yes. Now, a lot of people are going to be thinking, why did we mention DIY? We'll get to that shortly. And believe me, there's going to be plenty soapbox.
That is just part of the reason why both myself and Matt Burn both have our soapboxes at the ready. This could get ranty, folks.
Very. Now, we'll start off with the fact that we've already mentioned Lashley and Lio Rush attacking Finn. Now, much to everybody's surprise, Ricochet made the save. And, actually, let's go back a little bit. How they got introduced was Triple H coming out saying, they are here tonight. Where every other previous NXT guy have had a massive vignette, videos hyping them up to coming back, to returning, and they get for months, weeks, yeah.
I was going to say for months in advance in most cases, at least a month.
Yeah.
And all these poor guys got was, hey everybody, developmental guys are here. Clap and wave and try not to overawe them with your rude chants. It was back to the bad old days of when NXT was a talent contest / reality TV mess.
Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh, but true. But anyway,
fair.
Back onto it. Now, what is so interesting in regards to this is the fact that when the NXT call-ups got made, it was supposedly last minute, so it had to be done there and then. Now, the issue I have with it is it has been done so quickly. No, okay, they might be on NXT. At least they've got some NXT people watching the main roster product, so they at least know who they are. Now, Ricochet made his first debut by making a save for Finn.
Yeah.
And then being put in a tag match. Do you know what the original plan was?
I don't actually, but I'm guessing it wasn't that.
No. They were originally planning for Ricochet versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental title.
What, just straight off the bat, like,
off the bat?
Hi, I'm Ricochet, give me that title.
Pretty much. Do you know who argued it?
I've got to be honest, what they did, as nonsensical as it is, makes slightly, and we're talking like 1%, but slightly more sense than that batshit crazy idea. Go on, who argued against it?
Triple H.
Yeah, probably quite sensible.
Triple H did.
Yeah, reasonably sensible on his part, I think, because, like I say, having music that 90% of the Raw audience aren't familiar with hit, and immediately some guy come out and go, yeah, I want an Intercontinental title shot. Really? And who are you again? I mean, WWE fans aren't daft. They don't exclusively watch WWE. Of course, they know who Ricochet is, but that's not my point. My point is it goes back to the hype videos and the building up of people and actually making people anticipate their appearance, which
Yes.
none of which was done, so that would have been stupid. So in that sense, Triple H was right to argue down, but
He
that
argued
doesn't mean
that
that
down.
what did happen instead was any less daft, really. Or maybe, like I said, 1% less.
It at least allowed Ricochet to showcase some of his high flying as well. And it was a lot better.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there is one match for the NXT call-ups on Raw that was, good lord. I've got
on
a
both
massively
Raw
question.
and SmackDown, apparently.
Well,
Yeah, and I think this is where the soapboxes are
we'll get to
dusted
that
off and thoroughly
shortly.
put into use.
Now, Aleister Black debuting against Elias.
Yep.
That worked for me. What didn't work for
No
me
issue
in that
with
match,
that.
what didn't work for me is you got Aleister Black, who is meant to be some sort of Muay Thai specialist, being grounded by Elias and dominated.
Yeah, okay. Yes, WWE is land of the big men, and Elias is a bigger guy than Aleister Black. So, in Vince McMahon's mind, that probably makes sense. But the thing is, as increasingly is becoming common as the years go by, things like that, in Vince McMahon's mind and his mind alone, work, but not for the rest of us.
It just felt very, very silly, very samey, and it's like, you just called him up. He was a badass, and he's not a good show.
And you had him basically have a 50-50 even back and forth match with someone who
No. It was mostly Elias beating down Aleister most of the match.
Oh yeah, but
for Aleister to devastate him.
Elias is a certified main eventer, so that's. Oh wait, no, hang on.
Right. So anyway, back onto subject. After you got the win, yes, great. The massive mess up on Raw, and this is crucial.
Which was repeated on SmackDown, as far as I know, if it's what I think you're talking about.
Oh, no. It was sort of repeated, but at least for SmackDown, they've got a little bit of a thing difference. Whose bright idea?
No. Sorry, go on.
Whose bright idea was it to book the North American champion and the NXT champion together in a tag match?
For those of you who don't watch NXT, are feuding and are providing some of the most scintillating NXT television, whether they decide whether or not they can stand to be in the same room as each other.
Yes.
I know. Let's book them in a tag match and make out like they're best friends.
They're best friends, and it just hurt my brain, especially when you got him on NXT stating, "We're not friends."
Yeah.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. DIY, fantastic tag team. They work well as a team. They gelled. From a purely objective standpoint, the match worked because the two guys are over, they know how to work, and they made for a very entertaining match. But for God's sake, they've been at each other's guts, hating each other for 9 months on NXT.
Correct.
Why just pretend that isn't happening?
Correct. And they've been villains on NXT. Yet on the main roster,
Yeah.
they've got him as good guys, babyface, which is absolutely ridiculous. But
nonsensical and pointless.
You think that would be it for the mistakes for them? Oh no, that's just the start. Because
oh good lord, it gets worse.
Who did they get them to fight against?
It's on the tip of my tongue. Remind me.
Oh, that would be the current WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. The Revival.
#FTR.
The Revival. Now,
who,
the
who,
Revival...
by the way...
Go on.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, allow you go first.
I'm going to say, the Revival, who, by the way, current Raw Tag Team Champions, supposedly the best tag team in the brand, and one of the best 2 tag teams in WWE, alongside the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Okay, guys, we've got you a match against a makeshift tag team from 2 guys at NXT that hate each other, and guess what? You're losing. What?
They lost.
My brain
And
has
what
just
hurts
melted
my
out of
head...
ears.
What hurts my head in regards to that is... They couldn't have DIY lose because it's their debut on the main roster. But neither could the Revival, who had also just recently won the tag team titles and supposedly not meant to be getting buried anymore. Oh, look, we've got shiny gold. And
does this mean, by the logic of previous WWE booking ideas, does this mean that at Fastlane, by virtue of beating the tag team champions, your number 1 contenders and challengers for the Raw tag team titles are DIY? Because that makes no goddamn sense.
No, it doesn't.
Well, no, like I said, by the logic of WWE booking since time immemorial, where they claim the quickest way to get a title match is to beat the champions in a non-title match, it does. But what's going on there?
Right, so that's just Raw. Because they somehow get a second chance on SmackDown as well. They also debut on SmackDown. And you've got Ricochet versus Eric Young, which allowed Ricochet to show off more. A lot more.
Because Eric Young is incredibly capable. Yeah.
You also had more of a better story for Aleister Black.
Against his NXT nemesis and now full-time main roster member. I don't know what they're calling him now. In NXT, he was Andrade Cien Almas. Have they, mutilated that? Are they only using half of it? Has he no longer got a first name, like Rusev? Or
Almas.
Yeah.
I think it's not Cien, it's just Almas now, I think it is. Which,
madness.
Right? You know, because we all know that WWE don't like first names anymore now.
Yeah, no. Just ask Rusev and Cesaro. I would say Sheamus as well, but I don't think he ever had one. Oh, no, hang on. Sheamus is a first name. He just never had a surname.
They switched it for him. He's special.
Yes.
It's just...
But, yeah, it's ridiculous. And then, on top of that, DIY, fresh off their victory and cementing their status as number 1 contenders to the Raw tag titles, according to WWE logic, did they also not then beat the former 5-time WWE Tag Team Champions, The Bar?
Oh, you mean on SmackDown? Yes, they did.
Yes. So now
at least...
not only number 1 contenders to the Raw tag titles, but probably second or third in line to the SmackDown ones as well.
Potentially. But we'll get to the SmackDown Tag Team titles shortly, because we are going to have to discuss SmackDown because of certain things on there that grind our gears. But anyway, let's just get back onto the fact that you got DIY beating The Bar as a face tag team. Still making no damn sense. And are you ready for this?
Go on.
Their debuts are still being registered as, we're on the main roster and we're also going to be working NXT as well.
What, so they're now officially members of all 3 rosters?
Yeah. Now, do you know what makes me laugh more than anything?
Congratulations, Vince. That's a brain fart and a half.
It makes me laugh even more in regards to this.
Go on.
In the previous batch that they had, one of them haven't still debuted yet.
Really?
The Freak.
Yes. where is Lars Sullivan? Can we get a Twitter petition going? Where's he gone?
He supposedly has had some personal issues.
No, he's allegedly suffering from mental health issues, which we at the Burning Truth here are not mocking. They're serious, and we wish him all the best.
And also something that we do fully support.
Recovery. Yeah, we wish him a speedy recovery and a return to the main roster, or rather a debut on the main roster, sooner rather than later. But it must be galling for him, wondering how he's going to be booked in light of what he's seen this last couple of weeks.
Potentially, because if you think about it, his original plans was to be going to WrestleMania against Cena, supposedly, but now things are up in the air. But anyway,
yeah.
Now, what's so shocking is they haven't done the NXT guys on this round much of a chance. The previous lot, the only one who's actually had a fair chance, and what makes this even ridiculous, and you're not going to like it, out of the previous batch
of NXT guys who've been called up to the already bloated main roster, to which they don't need to call up anyone else whatsoever.
The previous, not the recent. Who's currently doing well?
Is it the one that was doing well in NXT, or is it the one that seems to have been shuffled along because even in NXT they couldn't find a place for her?
It's somebody.
Oh yeah, it's her. Of course it is.
In case you're wondering, this is somebody who my colleague absolutely detests.
Now, this is not a pro wrestling, you're doing a really good job there because your character is deliberately hateable and you're doing well at making it this way. This is a genuine, to the bone, no wrestling psychology needed, hatred. Oh my God, it's her. I'm changing the goddamn channel level of disgust at this person.
And to make things far worse, rumour has it that supposedly they're going to try to fit her in. The rumour has it that they're going to try to fit her in the top 3 when Ronda Rousey goes away.
Oh. Really?
Supposedly. Really? Rumour has it. That's only a rumour.
Sorry to go all Miz on you there, but really?
I know, but we'll get to more really moments in a bit later. Because, actually, you know what?
This isn't weird enough.
Actually, you know what? Seeing as we mentioned, Lacey Evans, nice little segue here.
We haven't actually mentioned her by name yet. Sorry, forgive me, I'm mentally tuning out because I don't care.
Oh, no. Are you ready for this? Lacey Evans ended up being causing something happening on SmackDown that has every wrestling fan going, what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as I believe I mentioned to you when we discussed this briefly before we started tonight. It was a result akin to sort of looking at Edge and Christian after they'd broken up and going, yes, Christian, he's the man I want to give 15 world title reigns and build the company around. Yes, that's a sound decision.
I take it you don't like Christian.
I have nothing against Christian. I just couldn't think of anyone else who, the lesser... Yeah, it's kind of like if WWE had gone when the tag team broke up, if WWE had put all their eggs in the John Morrison basket instead of The Miz.
Ooh.
It's that much of a misfire.
Ooh. I could think of somebody else who's more of a misfire.
Go on.
Ezekiel Jackson.
Well, I was trying to focus within the realm of tag teams, but yes, that is a colossal misfire. There's no argument there.
In case anybody wants to know why I said Ezekiel Jackson, last ECW champion of the WWE ECW era, and I believe he was the last Intercontinental champion of the first brand split.
Yes. Ezekiel Jackson. The man who makes the ghost of Ahmed Johnson spin in his grave.
Ooh. He went there. Who went now?
Sorry, I went there. Yeah.
He just went dark.
Anyway, yeah, the point we're labouring towards making here is they picked the wrong woman.
Right.
The former trio, sadly then now just a tag team due to the sad retirement of Paige, which were, I believe, called Absolution.
Whoa.
Has two members in it.
Wait. Let's go back. Let's just go back a little bit. Let's go back. Lacey Evans managed to change a bit of a result of the match. Right. Now,
yeah, the
match is
SmackDown Women's Champion Asuka the match
to lose a match.
To lose.
Now that's shocking enough as it is. You know, she's just got her championship back. Seems to be getting her dominance back. It's like, yes, she's finally getting it back.
But this is the Asuka that everyone cheered for in NXT. This is what we pay our money for.
The ass kick is back.
Wait, what's this? Oh, for God's sake, not again.
When we say her opponent is a former member of Absolution.
Yeah.
Now, let me just state, one of them I actually think is a believable to be a fighter against Asuka.
One of them is a believable fighter, believable character, genuine, has MMA training, genuinely could, if they chose to go down that route, have a believable fight with a certain Raw Women's Champion, if necessary. Also with Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And her tag team partner isn't any of those things. So guess who they chose?
What's so bad is, I know a lot of people might be upset with what we're about to state. I know some people might think it could be considered bullying. Let me just state this. Right, I'll just state this. Sonya Deville would have been a much more fitting role, not just because I feel as though she has more character, more development, and more area to grow, and could be something much more. Now,
I also feel, as well as having the potential to grow and be more, she is also currently.
We are not stating anything on Luke's either. We're not stating Luke's anything on Luke's. Now, Mandy Rose, her supposedly the best friend of Sonya Deville, right, is no slouch herself. Allegedly. She has massively improved compared to her previous days and everything. She has gotten better, very much so.
That's not in question. Is she a lot better than she is when she started? Yes, that's not in question. Is she anything even remotely on Asuka's level? That is the question. And I'm sorry, but the answer, very fundamentally, is not even close.
No, and a lot of people can say, well, why do you think that? If you want a good case, just look at the supposed feud that she'd recently had. Go
on, enlighten the folks at home, just in case it slipped their mind.
To do with a certain one that is now married to it, or engaged to an Uso, or is married.
A feud with a certain person who you need sunglasses to look at if the lights go out.
Pretty much.
You're talking about Naomi, aren't you?
Yeah, Miss Feel the Glow. And that whole storyline with Naomi and her was just car wreck TV. I'm sorry, but supposedly WWE is meant to be PG. Now, the fact that you supposedly got Mandy Rose attempting to be a home wrecker, how does her...
Yeah.
How do you go from that...
No, it just does not compute in any way.
How do you go from that angle to... Oh, let's just either get a sneaky win or roll up on Asuka.
Well, with any use of that pestilential thing that brings all wrestling angles crashing to the ground, if it's applied too liberally, logic, you just don't.
It doesn't. And the sad thing about
it doesn't work.
Okay, a lot of people can say, oh, Lacey Evans cost Asuka the match. Yes, you could say that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so someone who despite working her ass off and having the potential in 2 or 3 years to maybe be championship contender in Mandy Rose, if she keeps going in her upward trajectory that she's currently in for that entire period.
I would have said
she's not ready
I would
yet.
say she's not ready yet.
And,
Sonya Deville has been passed up as well because
yeah.
what's so I feel as though as bad as Mandy's been getting a lot of storylines where Sonya has been not as much.
Yeah, no, but that's the point I was trying to make, was as if Mandy Rose is getting the push ahead of time because she's not quite ready yet, as if everyone's using the excuse, oh, Lacey Evans helped her. What? Seriously, if Lacey Evans was any greener, they'd mistake her for the Incredible Hulk. What is she doing in the title picture?
Now,
what is she even doing anything apart from coming in and having introductory vignettes so everyone can find out how annoying she is?
Prediction here is I'm going to predict that they are going to go with Mandy Rose versus Asuka at Fastlane and then Lacey Evans against Asuka at WrestleMania.
Really?
Yeah.
What compromising pictures of Triple H does Lacey Evans have? Seriously.
I don't think that is the case. I think that they're trying to push her very, very big at the moment. Now, not everyone's on
please know,
board.
I am joking. She is just getting a new person push. I'm not on board with it. Not everyone is, but this is WWE. Since when does what we think count?
And
Isn't that right, Dean Ambrose?
Anyway, that aside, we've now got to bring up tag championships.
We have, because we've been ranting for a good 45 minutes already.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
and
close
we haven't
to.
even got onto our main topic yet.
Yeah, which
so
we'll have to
let's
get
the
onto.
Tag team titles out of the way.
Let's just get tag team titles out of the way.
Onto that.
Now, we're supposedly in the new era of WWE, which is any championship that, no champions get rematches, no champions get this, blah, 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 blah. This is the new era. We're not, we're supposedly the Authority are going to be away from the shows. Yeah, we keep seeing them almost every week.
Meet the new era, same as the old era. What's the rule for? Everyone else. Are you a McMahon? Yeah, guess what? They don't apply.
Right. Now, I find it fine. Okay. You've got Miz coming out, apologising for losing. Shane saying,
which is fair enough.
No, you don't need to apologise. And he's like, well, I've disappointed you. Why don't we just have a rematch? Yeah. He's like, no, we're in the new era, blah, blah, blah. And then you get the Usos coming out bragging, stating, yes, well, Miz was appalling. He thinks he's an A-lister with C-lister acting skills. And,
I see. That actually makes some semblance of sense then, if they've essentially been goaded into it and they weren't initially going to have a rematch.
But what was so bad about it is you got the Usos saying, yeah, I dare you, blah, blah, blah. Now, if Shane McMahon was going to be saying this is the new era, he would have booked a number one contenders match.
Yeah.
Nope, it was
insane. Well, no,
I changed my
mind.
The
in me suggests what's wrong here is booking The Miz to be apologetic for something he's done. Seriously.
No, because he took the pinfall.
Yeah, no, I know, but he's The Miz. He is narcissistic in the extreme, and the last thing he cares about is anyone else. So that was out of character enough.
It was, but they seem to be doing things, massive changes, which has actually been helping Miz get over. Now, it just didn't make sense because you got Usos being more heelish against McMahon. It's like, and I'm thinking, and I'm pausing, I'm thinking to myself, McMahon's just done a bit of a heel thing and changed the rules again. It was Shane.
Yeah.
And then you've got, it's just, in my mind,
yeah,
it just doesn't add up. Now, rematch has been put on, Fastlane, whoop-de-doo. Prediction.
Oh joy!
We'll talk about that a lot closer to when Fastlane actually happens with predictions, because we've now got to.
Yeah.
Oh, and
get on to the
One
main subject of tonight. Oh, hold on.
Not yet. One aspect on SmackDown I do appreciate and think is quite clever. I think they might have pulled it a little bit soon, but I'm interested to see what they've got for Daniel Bryan potentially for, or whoever the WWE champion is for WrestleMania. Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan at Fastlane.
Was epic entertainment. And if there was ever a way of all the stars aligning and anyone who was reluctant before to be against Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston was the perfect foil, because for the Elimination Chamber match, everyone in that building wanted Kofi to win without fail.
And what's so weird, Kofi was a last-minute addition.
Yeah, you have to wonder whether that reaction would have been as strong had that closing segment been between Daniel Bryan and Mustafa Ali, because as talented as Ali is, I don't think it would.
We don't know yet if that would have been the case.
So WWE, if that is the case, they've kind of lucked into something quite special there.
And they have with Kofi, because Kofi is massively over, and it seems to be that he's getting love. This is one massive thing we've got to give WWE that they've done right. Do not mess this up. Do not mess this up. Do not mess this up.
With their current track record on these sorts of things, we absolutely can't guarantee they won't, but please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, and let me just state this. That is how they've got that right for the WWE, for WWE Championship, for SmackDown. They've got that right. Oh, and
yes,
let's get back to Raw for a minute. Oh, who's fighting Brock Lesnar at Fastlane? Nobody.
That'd be nobody. Although they have already announced his WrestleMania opponent.
Of course,
for no
Seth
apparent
Rollins.
reason.
Seth Rollins.
Yeah, okay, one question. Why? What's he done to deserve it over or above anyone else?
He won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
There you go.
So he did. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
This year's Royal Rumble was absolutely so... whatever.
However...
It completely slipped my mind that Seth Rollins won, which is what... I saw that and I thought, well, why have they announced that? That makes no sense, because the Royal Rumble result just did not stick in my mind. That's how bad this year's Royal Rumble was.
And what I thought was so...
forgot that Seth Rollins won it. So my apologies to Seth Rollins. He does deserve it.
Yes, and what I did find uniquely interesting is that, so Seth Rollins won his, yet the women's one has been taken out.
Yes.
Because Vince McMahon's changed his mind. God damn it.
I do not even pretend to comprehend anything that's happening with the women's title at WrestleMania. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
We're not going to go down that route at all, because all I'll just state is, rumour has it for this week on Raw, and this is only rumours or speculation, supposedly that Roman Reigns is making a comeback to provide an update and maybe returning to wrestling, and that Becky Lynch will be making an appearance this week as well, which is also a celebration for Ric Flair, who's going to be on Raw as well.
Interesting.
But
we'll see what happens on Monday night, and we'll have plenty to talk about next week.
Correct. So we'll be talking about that next week. But let's get on to the main topic, the Attitude Era.
So I believe the question that we've been posing for a few weeks now, which we are going to attempt to cover for the next few minutes, is the Attitude Era.
Was it as
good
as...
We all remember it. We all have rose-tinted spectacles for it, but, sorry, you were going to say?
Was it as good as we remember it?
Interesting question, with quite a lot of potential... Well, okay, two potential answers.
Now,
yes or no?
Yeah, which can vary on a lot of people's choice, because it also... This debate is very questionable and can be up in the air depending on when you actually got into wrestling. if you got into wrestling during the golden years of Hogan and everything, they were the ultimate years. If you got into wrestling during the Attitude Era, they were the best years. If you got into wrestling during the Ruthless Aggression years, they were the best years.
Exactly. It all depends. Your favourite wrestling is always your first couple of years watching.
Potentially, yes.
As a general rule.
Now, I'm in a rare case myself because I got into wrestling first time around during the golden years, but then I came out of it and then came back into it during the Attitude years as well.
Yes, me too. I was an absolute rarity in that I started watching during the golden age of Hogan and so on. In the late 80s, very rarely when I was very young. Mm-hmm. Got back in again in the early 90s as Hulkamania was waning.
Yeah.
Stayed on for a couple of years, fell out of love, and then came back in midway through the Attitude Era for the start of SmackDown in 99.
Now,
to WWE.
Go on.
Having watched ECW and WCW in the meantime, and loved ECW, but been thoroughly mystified, like I'm sure a lot of other people were, by WCW as a whole.
Right. Now, allow me to just point this out. Whenever we attempt to answer the question, was it as good as we remember, allow us just to state, this is not us stating a fact. This is a personal. This is 100% opinion.
Yeah,
each to
our
their
own
own
opinions.
This is each to their own. We might differ our opinions as well, of course. We're just stating what we thought and what we think. And
yes,
a lot of the time, one aspect of it, I would say that was far better in the Attitude Era, is the main event storylines.
I would agree. Well, I would partially agree, actually, because, my answer to was everything better in the Attitude Era is yes and no.
Yes.
And if you'd care to give me a couple of minutes to explain why, I will now do my best.
Go for it.
From the point of view of in-ring action and the roster that they had and the chemistry that those guys had and the matches that they put on week after week after week after pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, the actual in-ring action at the top of the card and quite a long way down it as well was better than anything that had ever existed in wrestling before, and some would argue as good as anything that we've seen since. Possibly a pedant would suggest outside of NXT.
Yes and no.
But no, because quite a lot of the storylines and the skits and the bits that link the wrestling together and the, TV mature, whatever rating it was, stuff, like the adult content and stuff, watching it back was the absolute shit. And everything that they do now to actually make the storylines make sense within a PG time frame knocks it into the weeds, because it was basically just shock value for the sake of shock value.
I can agree and disagree with you with what you said earlier in regards to the wrestling. I think the quality of the wrestling now is far better than the Attitude Era. And this is only opinion.
I see. Yeah. Well,
apart from the main event level,
up to that point.
No, apart from the main event level, because the main event was the main event. It was special in that sense. Now, throughout show for show, compared to Attitude Era Raw, you had a lot of squash matches. You had a lot of 5-minute matches, which boom, 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 in, out, done. Now we've got more matches that are more competitive, more actiony. You can still have some squash matches on current Raw, but the wrestling is still more coherent. It's not like ding ding ding. We're picking Joe Nobody to go a bit. They do have some of them, but it still looks. It's very rare.
Ironically,
few in between when they do that.
These days those matches are reserved for largely building up new talent on the non-main roster shows, NXT and 205 Live, and as well as Superstars, is where the squash matches take place these days. Less so on Raw and SmackDown, and obviously I think that's a good thing.
Which is where it branches out, and at the same time, that's where I feel as though the overall show wrestling is much better, not the main event, because the main event wrestling has been both sides top notch and top quality throughout, and I feel as though the wrestling has progressed and got much more further in advance as time's gone by, and we'll probably be saying that later on in many years further down the road.
I probably agree with you in the sense that, the main event was about the same. It's always been stellar, but now it's that good all the way down the card, whereas maybe it wasn't so much back then.
And now,
and as I say, now in my opinion at least, the storylines are a little bit less shock value and what can we get away with, and a little bit more, what can we do here that makes sense and works? Well, with the exception of the last couple of weeks of Raw and SmackDown, which we've discussed at length already anyway.
Agreed on that. But
so,
it's weird in regards to it, because some of the storylines I don't get in the past. I'll just mention one wrestler's name, and I guarantee you the storyline, because taken into account compared to the storyline throughout the shows now on the main roster, are much better compared to some of the storylines that were in the past. Because I will state, some of the past Attitude storylines were just, good Lord.
Yeah, which is pretty much exactly what I was saying, yeah. As good as some of the main event wrestling was, some of the bits that linked it together, you look back at it now and well, in the TV PG framework, you struggle to see if WWE want to recap it for the sake of history. You struggle to see how they could fit it in the current product, because it was just so puerile.
Some of it,
I think is what
some of it
juvenile.
Some of it was juvenile. Some of it was Car Crash TV. And I'll just mention the one wrestler who was involved in a bad storyline, and I will just state this: I will not be mentioning Kane's bad storyline, because that was during a mixed era thing, and I think that was possibly after the Attitude Era. So
I think it might possibly have been, if not after, then at the tail end. So
I believe there will be no mention of the Katie Vick storyline, because that storyline should be erased from WWE history. All I'll mention.
Okay. Are you going to say the two words I think you're going to say here?
Go on.
Are those two words Mark and Henry?
Oh, good Lord, no. I completely forgot about that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because that's the one that springs to mind for me for just like...
you just managed to top the one I had in mind.
A lot of stupid shit, and he was there, and he put... Like Kane, they suggested stupid shit, and he went, yeah, okay, you want me to do that? I'll try and make it work.
There is a difference, though,
but
in regards to it.
Go on.
If you watch the World's Strongest Man video... documentary recently that Mark Henry has put up on the WWE Network for just $9.99. It's on there. He mentions a lot of it wasn't actually WWE. Some of that was actually Mark Henry. The Mae Young stuff, we don't know who that was. I think he was just aiming for funny stuff, and they were just throwing things at the wall in regards to it, because he was actually developing his personality on wrestling.
Which is fair enough in hindsight. But okay, I've stolen your thunder here, because I mentioned Mark Henry, who is a good case in point, but it's not who you had in mind. So who did you have in mind?
Val Venis.
Of course.
You know exactly where I'm going with.
The absolute epitome of everything that was wrong with the Attitude Era, basically.
All I'll say is Val Venis, Kai Tai, PP, Choppy. What the
Yeah, right up there with some of the worst excesses of Mark Henry and Mae Young and lots of the other questionable stuff that was done in the name of entertainment, apparently, in the Attitude Era in a similar vein, all of which is the reason why we had to ask the question, was the Attitude Era as good as we thought it was? And why we can't just go, yes, it was, end of discussion, because they were dreadful and they tarnished everything else on each show that they happened on.
Yeah. Now, the weird thing about it is, a lot of people can turn around and say, well, we remember the Austin thing. You might have remembered the Austin storyline and the Rock storyline because the rest of the storylines weren't as bright or as shiny.
As vibrant, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it seemed thrown together and a lot of it seemed designed for shock value, whereas the Rock and Austin stuff shone twice as bright as it would have done anyway, because it was fantastic anyway, but just because of the dross it was put on with.
Right.
Or at least that's my humble opinion. So anyway, yeah, the Attitude Era had some fantastic wrestling, but so yes, in that sense, it was spectacular, but overall...
It had some magical moments, but then you got the whole, if you remember, Cleaver Beaver? Oh. Then you got what was it? Shamrock's sister. And Ken Shamrock. Don't even get us started on that one.
Don't even get me started on The Godfather.
There were a lot of things. There were a lot of things that with the Attitude Era were bad. And I'll openly put my hand up and state myself. But I am a massive fan of that era because you got your D-Generation X era. You've then got, you've got the New Age Outlaws. You've then got your Rock. You've then got Austin. You've then got Mankind. You've then got Triple H, Kane,
you've got the Undertaker, Kane, The Big Show. Yeah, the original first coming of Brock Lesnar right towards the end.
Edge and Christian with, Jeff, the Hardys.
The Dudleys, yeah. There was lots to be commended in that era, but it's just a shame that
they had some
all
hits
the stuff that we've cited that were downsides. The misses weigh nearly as much as the hits, unfortunately.
But at the same time, did the misses make the hits look more better? We'll save that topic.
That is the $1 million question.
That is a $1 million
question.
We'll discuss
that another time.
We'll discuss that at another time, but that's just some of our personal views in regards to it, and I feel as though it's interesting, certainly the least.
It is interesting because it's also entirely subjective. I'm sure you could ask 100 wrestling fans and they'd have 99 different views.
Correct. But anyway, let's just get on to one piece of topic I need to discuss in regards to UKWA. Now,
ooh, yeah.
I've just got to bring this up very, very, very briefly, which is we've had some supposed footage arrive from Charles Kelsey, the King of the Kingdom champion. Now, in regards to what's on the said footage, I don't know. I haven't seen it myself. However, instead, against better judgments of myself, I've had others state on it, you want to see this and everything, and because I am fair in the right of everyone should get their say, I have actually asked, is there any is he breaking any policies? Is he breaking any rules? In regards to what he's saying?
Does it contain any non-family specific things?
Which
that,
he has.
People might have reason to complain about.
Correct, which the checks have stated there isn't. Now, that footage is going... That potential, that message from Charles Kelsey will be potentially getting released tomorrow. And let me just state this. I don't know what he has said myself, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say, because I will be stating this. I will be having plenty to say in regards to what happened from the last show. I will be looking forward to seeing what he has to say, possibly in regards to his actions. and I will hopefully either be responding to him shortly after, or I'll be most likely responding to him on the show, which is May 25th. But in regards to that, we're not going to discuss any further more because we've already had our main topic discussion, and that is all we're going to be mentioning for the UKWA for this week. And of course,
other than just a quick plug, which is UKWA 0 Hour, available now on Turnbuckle TV. Subscribe at your leisure and watch it as many times as you like.
Correct. And if anybody does want to have the case of being able to sign up, please go to I'll repeat that, www.turnbuckletv.com/UKWA/ and then enter. It will bring up the UK Wrestling Alliance page. You can join up on there, as we stated, for a small fee, but you don't just get UK, the UKWA. You also get
there are like 10 or 12.
There's multiple companies on there and great viewing content on there, of course, as well. But anyway, in regards to that is probably...
As time passes, is only going to increase in volume and quality.
As time passes, correct. Now, next week, we're possibly going to... Is there any topics we want to discuss next week?
Aside from anything that might arise on Raw and SmackDown and NXT this week,
potentially.
There was something that we mentioned before we went on air, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was.
I believe we were going to either save Fastlane predictions for next week or the week after, potentially. It could be next week. I can't state if it is or not. We'll have to wait and see how current developments develop on Raw and SmackDown. Raw, SmackDown, NXT on the current week as well.
Yes. So I think that's everything for this. Plus, of course, we might discuss if anyone has really strong opinions about the Attitude Era or just about what we said about it, and maybe gets in touch via the various forms of social media, and we may mention that if anyone has
because
we do want to, like I said,
we want to make it a conversation. And on top of that, I believe we wanted to talk about some other wrestling, potentially some British wrestling as well, which I think you stated you wanted to discuss some NXT UK, which will lead into that event, which we will possibly discuss that for next week.
Yeah.
And with that, I believe that's going to move us on to the plug section of this week.
I see. Which means I need to take a back seat, and you need to take a deep breath.
Please check out UKWA, also known as UK Wrestling Alliance, and of course, please check out UKWM, also known as UK Wrestling Media. They do absolutely fantastic, they do some photography, they do some great show recordings, and do some fantastic work. Please check out Manchester Pro Wrestling Academy, as they have beginner classes are on Monday, £10 per class, 7 p.m, 9 p.m. on Mondays. But in case anybody wants to see any further classes or where their current location is, please check out their social media. Please check out JG Printing and Stitching. They do absolutely fantastic work. Please check out Mind, and of course, the charity Mind, and of course Changes UK for health and well-being. In case if anybody wants the website for Changes UK, which is www.changes.org.uk. Please check out Team 4 Star. Please check out bands as such like The New Breed and Camans, and of course always check out Botchamania. You're welcome, Matthew. Got to fit you in somewhere. Please check out YouTube channels, Philip DeFranco, When Fandom Strikes, who's also on TikTok, of course, as well. Please check out Luke Moto, who's been doing some blogging, of course. Please check out Turnbuckle TV, as we've already discussed. That UKWA 0 Hour is on there. And of course, please always check out your local wrestling shows on social media, because they might actually have some free giveaways from competitions and also some potential polls on there, if I'm not mistaken. And just to name a few wrestling companies that I actually check out from time to time myself, which would be United Wrestling, Academy Pro Wrestling, FCW, Fusion Pro Wrestling for You, and many, many more. And of course, please, last but not least, please check out the Burning Truth website, which is www.theburningtruthuk.com, where it could be potentially where you're listening to us live. It's where you can listen to past broadcasts, interviews, show reviews, merchandise, blog, contact page, links, all of us, and please check out all of our social media, which is Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And in case somebody notices that the Twitter handle is a bit different, which I'll spell it out for you, which is WRESLING/THWALL. We had to put it that way because it was the length of it. We couldn't fit the full word on it, unfortunately. And of course, we have previous episodes on Spotify.
Deep breaths.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
there we go.
Everything is
All
done.
done. All
That's
done.
wonderful. So that just about wraps us up for another week.
That is
We'll be back
wrapped up for this
discussing all
week.
the stuff we mentioned next week. Until then, stay safe.
Stay well.
If
And
you're
of
going to
course,
try it at home, don't try it at home. Go to your local wrestling training school, as mentioned in the plugs.
we always recommend you go to
Um,
a proper training school because, believe me when I say this, wrestling is dangerous, very, and you can actually get some injuries. Believe me when I say that. I've had a few myself.
This is entertainment, but the hazards are real, folks. They don't just say that for the catchy TV slogan. It's true.
Oh, you went there. But anyway, it's a wrap up for this week. So, as always, please stay well, stay safe, and of course, always, please check out your local wrestling. Until then, we'll catch you next week.